Any questions?
Apparently not.
There's a lot of talk about the depth of this draft, and I wonder defensively, what are your observations about the depth of this draft in Tampa?
Well, again, over the years with the proliferation of the spread offenses, the spread defenses, for lack of a better term, have come into vogue, and there's a lot of corners and a lot of safeties that have to match up with the number of wide receivers. And there's plenty of wide receivers in this draft as a result of those offenses as well. What's a little different is the depth of the running back position, which hasn't been real deep in recent years. It looks like this is shaping up to be a real strong running back draft class as well.
Kevin, there's been a lot of management change around the league, Craig included. What was the difference for you in year 2 compared to year 1 when you were at Pittsburgh?
Well, yeah, I think you learn so much when you go through, when you get elevated to a position of general manager. I was taught very early that you have to prioritize because there's no way that you can possibly handle every little situation that comes up on a daily basis. So you just have to learn to prioritize and make sure that you're taking care of the important things for that day, week, month, whatever it is first, and then move on to other tasks.
How did that play out, from year 2 and so on?
It becomes much easier once you go through a complete cycle and you learn your head coach, you learn your new organization, and you learn how to work together within those organizations or with your head coach. But really, the year 1, it's a learning process throughout the whole season. Once you complete a cycle, it becomes a little bit easier, but still challenging.
Kevin, how much did being without Martavis Bryant affect the offense this year?
Well, I mean, Martavis was a great asset to us when he was available. Actually, I'm limited in speaking to him because he is currently still on suspension from the league, not just from the Steelers. But anytime you lose a great player, that's helped you in the past and you don't have him, you have to find other ways. And actually, as a team, we were more successful. You could argue offensively, maybe we weren't in certain areas, but as a team, we actually progressed further than we did in 15.
Does continuity in a coaching staff help in the draft process in terms of knowing what your guys want, or is it the other way around where the coaches kind of have to work with what the personnel that is brought to them?
Yeah, there's no question that continuity within an organization, coaching staff, it's vital because from year to year, staff to staff, you have the same criteria that you're looking for. And it predates me, even with the Steelers, when Coach Cowher came in. It was really a lot of the same defenses because Coach LeBeau transferred with him over to Coach Tomlin. So when you have that consistency, it's much easier to work together as a staff, as an organization, because you're sharing the same goals each and every year. Your goal is to win a Super Bowl, but you're doing it along the same path that you've tried before, and you've worked together. So we know what's expected at any given time. Coach Tomlin and I have been together going into our 11th season. So this time of year, it's almost automatic. He knows what we're doing today, interviews, timing, etc., as we move into the pro days, into the meetings, into the draft process. So the more you're together, the easier it is to work together.
When you talk about that continuity, did it take time for you and Coach Tomlin to get it together? I mean, for you guys to kind of get on the same page? Did it take a while with that?
Going back to Mike's question, as far as like being in a new organization, when I came to the Steelers, I had to learn the Steeler way. And when Coach Tomlin came to the Steelers, I had to try to teach him the Steeler way. So it does take a little bit of time, but over the years, you grow and appreciate the organization you work for, but also the new ideas that someone from the outside can bring to that organization.
Was there a value in inheriting a proven veteran coach, head coach?
I think there is. I think, when you have someone that's been successful and you come in from the outside with different ideas, I think you have to respect that this is a successful organization, but maybe we can even be better, because I'm sure everybody trying to win the Super Bowl every year.
Kevin, you've been drafting edge rushers for a long time. What's a few things that you're looking for when you look at these college guys?
The edge rushers?
Edge rushers, yeah.
The outside linebacker in our defense is probably the most difficult because 80% of them, 90% don't play on their feet in college, and we have to try to project whether a guy can stand up and do the extra things beyond pass rushing that he's going to be required to do in our defense. So the margin for error at the outside linebacker position is really greater than any other position because most of the time it is a projection. So again, you're looking for someone that can rush the passer, can play on a tight end or a tackle, and can drop into coverage on occasion. And the dropping part, a lot of times we won't see that until actually when we get in here for the initial workouts and then followed up with some pro day advancements as well.
It seems like a pretty deep group from this early stage of things.
It is, but off the top of my head, 85-90% of them are the defensive ends that we're going to have to project up. So again, as we go through this, we'll probably lose 3, 4, 5 guys that we'll just say, well, they're probably just 4-3 defensive ends instead of 3-4 linebackers.
When you're looking at them in pro days and you're trying to evaluate dropping into coverage, what are you looking for? It's hard to simulate that in that kind of environment.
No, not really. I mean, you just watch their feet, their hips, their hands, their awareness when they drop. You're really not going to get into whether they understand and know what they're doing. You're just really looking at the physical ability to do it. And, you can transfer most of them if they have the athleticism to do it. It's just a matter of knowledge beyond that and repetition.
When do you learn that they can figure out what they're doing?
Usually when they line up on a Sunday.
And what consistencies have you found in drafting and scouting wide receivers in terms of projecting which ones are going to be successful at the next level?
Really, there's no difference how we scout any position, wide receivers included. I mean, we're just looking for talented guys that know how to get open, know how to catch the ball, can catch the ball in traffic, and can do something with the ball after they catch it. There's really there's no great formula for it. You take a guy like Antonio Brown, who went as a 6th-round pick. Well, Antonio takes working to a different level, and he's made himself into the player he is. When he was that 6th-round pick, he certainly wasn't the player he is today. So to his credit, he's worked above and beyond and continues to work to be the best at his craft. And those types of things, you want to see that kid have an ability to get better at some point, but really there's no great secret or formula.
With Kevin, I know everybody wants to draft and develop their own, but as it relates to free agency, we've seen these huge rises in the cap, over the last several years. How has that impacted the landscape of free agency? Because you can keep your own for the most part nowadays if you want them. Have you seen an impact there, a correlation?
It really hasn't changed it for us because we've always been a draft, develop, keep our own. I think you're seeing more teams doing that, and as a result, you're seeing less and less quality free agents, which there's an inherent danger in that because some of the players that are hitting the market with the number of dollars that are available might not be quite worth what they're going to get paid because of the supply and demand. And I think that's reflective in a lot of the early cuts, the 5-6 year deals that usually get cut after 2 or 3 because maybe they were oversigned. So I think that it reinforces that you're wanting to sign your own and keep your own. But again, you have to be careful about that free agent market and not overpaying for maybe an average player.
With Ben Roethlisberger at a late stage in his career, is this a good year for Pittsburgh to look at a developmental quarterback in the draft? And what do you think of the quarterback class?
Well, I'd hate to say he's in the late stage because I hope he plays forever. But he is getting older. He's getting better. He was hit less this year than in any year in his career. So chances are that he will extend his career. Maybe we don't know how long it'll go, but you always got to be prepared to select a quarterback at some point. And he's aware of that. We've talked about it. He understands that, hey, if we add a guy into the mix, that we'll do that at some point. But it doesn't change the way we scout. I mean, we scout the entire draft class, and we don't do it by position. Every year we're going to scout the top quarterbacks, even when Ben was a younger player. We have to be prepared to stack the draft board regardless of the positions or where your team is at a certain point.
You were talking about edge rushers and versatility. How do you scout a kid like Jabril Peppers? We might not be exactly sure what position he plays, but he's a terrific athlete.
Yeah, I won't answer. I mean, we could go on and on with individual players, but players that really aren't playing the position that you might project them to in college or in the pros, you just have to, again, look at the basic criteria. The position you're projecting him to, does he have that athleticism to maybe project to that position? Sometimes a defensive position to a defensive position, sometimes we're talking about maybe he'd be a better offensive lineman than a defensive lineman. Again, we're just trying to identify the physical characteristics that he might have.